All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College Application and Website Development, or AWD1100 Programming Fundamentals with C# course, I'm doing a series of video presentations that are based on the PowerPoint slides for our textbook that you can see on the screen right now, Murox C# 7th edition. I have currently finished chapters 1 through 8 and 11, and I've lectured on chapter 9. But now from chapter 9, I'm going to do a couple of the programs that are at the end of the chapter. And the first one is, I'm going to do this one right, where are you? Calculate the age for a given birth date. So I'm going to write this one. I've kind of repeated it here, and I made it bigger so you can see it. So calculate the age for a given birth date. Now, I'm going to write it virtually the same as what you see on the screen, except, yes, I'll have 3. That'll be my form title. I'll have 3 labels. I'll have 3 text boxes. This one, the first one with the current date and the one with the age, they will both be read-only. The only place you'd be able to enter something will be in here. Now, I could create this and use like a number picker or something, but I just decided to make it a regular text box. So we've got label, 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 read-only text box, read-only text box, and excuse me. Also, I'm going to have 3 buttons. Instead of OK, I'm going to put it over here and call it calculate, and I'll have a clear, and I'll have an exit. But again, the idea is we want to calculate the age. So we put in your birth date right there, and it gives you your age. Okay? So with that said, let's just get started. I am going to begin a new session of Visual Studio. Create a new project. This will be a Windows Forms app.NET network. We will call this how about birthday calculator? Okay, so that'll be the name of the project. I'll tell you what, I'm going to do 2 of them for chapter 9. So let's just call this Chapter09 programs, and I'll put the next program in there also. Okay. So here will be my first one. There you go. Stretch this out just a little bit. And again, doesn't matter the order in which I put in my stuff here, but let's put in we'll put in the 3 buttons. Make that nice and big, as I've been doing on most of these so you can read them. Let's come in here and let's go to the font. And we will set the font size. Instead of 825, I'll make it 18.25. A little easier to read, and I'll bold it. All right. And let's see. Let's make 2 more buttons. So we'll have a second button that'll be here and a third button. So there's our buttons. All right, this first one will be called BTN Calculate. And it'll say Calculate. The second one will be called BTN Clear. And it will say Clear. And the third one will be called BTN Exit. And it will say Exit. All right, so that part is done. Let's create our 3 text boxes. Make these plenty wide. And again, I'm going to do the same kind of thing I did previously. In that, I'm going to go over to my font, and I'm going to set my font to 18.25. I'm going to set the bold, not 88.25, sorry, 18.25. I'm going to set bold to true, and I'm also going to use my text align and make that center. Okay, so make this, we got a lot of space in here. That looks, that looks pretty good. All right, and we might as well rename these. So this will be txt current date. And of course, since it is a text box, it won't have any text in it to start with. It will actually, but we'll talk about that in a second. This will be txt birth date. And this will be txt years. How about txt age? Works for me. And let's put in our 3 labels. And I'm going to immediately set the auto size to false and bring this way the hay over. And again, come in here and I'm going to make this same kind of way I've been doing this. So I'm going to make this 18.25. And I'll make it bold. And let's also set the text alignment to right center. There we go. And this first one will be txt current, I'm sorry, not txt, LBL current date. And I'm going to make this current date. Okay. And then I'll copy this twice. And change the name and the text. So this second one will be LBL birth date. And it'll say birth date. And finally, the last one will say, we'll make this LBL age. And it will have the text of just age. All right. Let's do a couple little housekeeping things. First, let's make sure, did I rename everything? I see I didn't rename the form. Looks like everything else is. So let's click on the form. We'll right mouse click on the form and choose rename, and I'll call this FRM age calculator. Do I want to rename? Yes. Let's do a couple more things quickly. First of all, I should be able to lock this into place now. Control A to highlight, whoops. Control A to highlight everything. Right mouse click and choose lock controls. Let's do about 4 or 5 more things, then we'll run it to see what it looks like. I'm going to change my background color. Let's make it a yellow. Okay. Click on the form. Let's set our accept button to BTN calculate. Let's set our cancel button to BTN clear. Let's set our start position to center screen. And then finally, let's do a view tab order, and let's set our tab order. This will be read only, so will this. So I'm going to click here and then go here, 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 and here. So my tab order is 0 for the birth date I'm going to enter, 1 for the calculate button, 2 for the clear button, 3 for the exit button. All right. 4 is current date, even though it's read only. 5 is age, even though it's read only. And 6 is the current date text box, or the current date label. 7 is the birth date label, and 8 is the age label. So I'm going to do a view tab order again, and I'm going to say file, save all. All right. So let's see. There's going to be my calculate button, which we'll do in just a minute. Come on. Here we go. And then we will have next our clear button. And then finally our exit button. Now with the clear button, what do we want to do? Well, we want to clear this. Actually, we don't want to clear this because that's the current date. So we want to clear this, we want to clear this, and we want to set the focus back to here. That's it. So txt birthdate dot text equals double quote txt age dot text equals double quote and txt birthday dot focus. Again, I'm a little anal about some of this stuff, so oops. So that one should be done, but I like to just call clear fields. You can call that whatever you want. And I'm going to make a private void clear fields. I just like to put these in their own routine. So that's the first one. This will be exit program. Can I get an error because it isn't written? Private void exit program. And let me grab that text. Again, I have to make sure this is sent to you before the semester starts. And save. Now the clear should work. The clear should work, and so should the calculate. Now, these will be read-only, but just to test them. Now, that one's not going to clear, but I told it to clear this one, clear this one. There's my cursor right there, and it should put the cursor back in here. So all that works. Good. Exit. No, exit. Yes, so that works. The other thing I want to do is I want to grab the current date, and I want that to be in here at all times. Okay? So I am going to come in here, and I'm going to take this field here and the age field here, and I'm going to set the read-only property on both of them to true. Now, if you don't like it being, I don't particularly like it being that color. What I typically do for my read-only fields like this is I'll go back and I'll go to my color here, and instead of making it yellow, I'll make it one shade darker yellow. That's just a thing that I do. Maybe I'm quirky that way. I don't know. All right. But now that's done. Also, what I want to do is I want to set this for the whole program. I want to set this to the current date. All right. You don't have to do what I'm about to do, but I'm gonna unlock my controls for a second. I'm just going to move this over. I don't like where it looks right now. I like it where it's a little bit more centered on the screen. All right. I like that better. May or may not agree. Okay. So when the form loads, when the form loads, I want to set, let's make a couple of variables at the top of the program. So up here, I'm going to make my global variables. And the first one will be for the current date. So I'm going to do a date time for a current date. Oops. And I'm going to set it equal to date time dot now dot date. I just need the date portion. Okay? All right. So that'll be the current date. And what I'm wondering here is if I put that in txt current date dot text equals current date, and we can put a .toString in there. Save. Let's run it and see if that is in there right away. And there it is. That's good. All right. Now I don't really need, nor do I want, the time to be in there. Okay. It defaults it to right here. Let's see. I should be able to say dot to short date string. I believe that's what it is. Let's try that one. Yeah, it looks good. That's what I want. Okay, so now I've got the current date in there. And even if I change this, the current date's going to remain there. And that is what I want. All right. Let's make one more global variable up here. And so this, as you can see, move this over, and we'll just make a comment here that says current date, because that's what it is. I'm going to make another date time. Then I'm going to have in here for birth date. And I think I'll just leave it blank. Okay, spell birth right. And I'll have one more. I may end up not using this, but I'm just going to call it birth. Okay. So this one will be the actual birth date. And this one, if I do use it, I don't know if I am or not, will just be a temporary variable. All right. That's a good start. I can do a save. You've already seen it, but there it is in action right now. Not doing a whole heck of a lot. Now, what do I have to think about in here? Well, the first thing I want to think about is, what do I do? What do I do if there's no birth date in there whatsoever? All right, so let's check for this being empty. All right, and my calculate button, what are we going to call here? I'm going to do this. I'm going to call do age calculation. Okay, and I'm going to put that right down here. So private void do age calculation. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I want to check for the birth date being empty. Okay. So I'm going to do a bool. I've done this before. Keep going. Equal. And I'll say is birth. Boy, oh boy. Is birth date empty? I'm going to get an error because that hasn't been written yet. Okay, so let's write that right now. So private, this will have to return a Boolean because it's going to be stuffed into keep going. All right, and it's called is birth date empty. All right, and I've done this kind of thing before. I'm going to say bool retval equal true. All right, so if there's nothing in the birth date field, so if txt birthdate.text, I could, yeah, I don't want to check the length. I could just say if it's equal to nothing, what do I want to do? Well, I want to basically I want to return true because yes, the birth date is empty. All right. So if it's empty, what do I want to do? Well, first thing I want to do is I'm going to call a routine that I'm going to call show message that hasn't been written yet. And I'm going to say birth date field cannot be empty. That'll be my message. And my title will be empty birth date. Okay? All right. So the show message hasn't been written yet. So let's write it down here at the very bottom, right underneath our load method. Okay, so I'll come in here and do my message box dot show, and I'm gonna put all that magical stuff in there. Message title, yeah. Okay, boom. But I'm gonna move these onto separate lines so you can see exactly what's going on. There. So let's test it, and we're gonna see if right now it's working. All right, so I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna do a file, save all, and if it's empty, I'm going to do this. All right, and if it's not empty, else retval equal false. Now, if you don't get that, I'm going to go over it in just a minute. Okay, so I come in here, I'm leaving this blank. Empty birth date field cannot be empty. That's good. What else do I want to do? Well, I probably also want to set the focus, just in case. So far, what have we done? We're coming through here and we're calling due age calculation, which is going to see, is the birth date empty? If it is empty, we're going to give an error message and we're going to end up returning. If it's not empty, we're going to set a return value to false, because remember, this is called is birth date empty. So back up here, if keep going, remember that's a shortcut for saying if keep going equal true. All right, so that's saying if it's true that yes, the birth date was empty. So if it's empty, there's no sense in going on. So I can just return. Like that. Okay. So if I get down to here, the birth date text box was not empty. Verify that it holds a date. So in other words, there's something in there, but what if I put hello? Well, that's not going to be something I can check for a birth date. So what do I want to do in there? I'm going to say keep going equal is birth date a date. Maybe that's not the greatest name, but that's the one I'm using. And again, we'll write that right below the one we just entered. In fact, just for now, I'm going to grab everything that I had in this routine here, and I'm just going to copy it over. Just so that error that's right here will go away. All right, so retval is true. Well, what do I want to do here? All right, basically, again, I just want to kind of see if I could parse it. So I've got my retval. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say bool result equals. And what am I going to do here? Let me get rid of all. Well, I'll leave out the rest of this stuff. So I'm going to say, let's put it on a new line. I'm going to say date time dot try parse, and I want to parse what's in my birthday text field. And in my output, I'm going to use that birth thing that I gave you earlier. So I'm attempting to parse what's in there. It's either going to work or it's not going to work. If it did not work, and remember, that, I don't even need these, that is a shortcut for if result equal false. So this is called is birth date a date? All right, so if it returned false, it was not a date. So birth date field must be a date. Non-date birth date. We will set the birth date, the focus to that, and we will also clear out what's in there. All right. And if there's nothing in there, we're going to return, we're going to set retval equal to false, not fossil. False. All right. And we want to return retval here. And I want to make sure that that is return retval. All right. So now if I run this and I put nothing in there, I get cannot be empty. That's good. And there's my focus. If I put this in there, I get must be a date, clears it out and puts the focus there. Okay, that's two of my three things. All right, I'm at 27 minutes, so I'm doing fine for time. Now, what does that mean? Well, the only other thing that's left is I can't put a birth date in that is greater than the current date. In other words, today is the 18th of July. If I put August 1st, 2022 in there, I'm saying that I'm trying to figure out the age of somebody who hasn't been born yet. So that doesn't make any sense. All right, so far in here, we're checking for an empty birth date. Validate birth date text box not empty. And here we want to validate birth date text box holds a date. Because I did it there. All right. So here, birth date, if we get down to this right here, we again want to say if, but this is if not, keep going. Return false. Okay, now just return. We're done. We're dead in the water. So if we get down to this point, the birth date text box contains a valid date. Or how about contains syntactically correct date. Now validate birth date text box date is less than or equal to current date. All right. So I'm going to use my little keep going again. So keep going is going to be equal to, how do I want to write this? Keep going equals, let's make it a long name, is birth date less than or equal to current date. That's maybe one of the longer names I've ever made for a routine. Okay, so that's going to be here. Let's put that down here. Again, be a private bool, and there it is. And this one Again, I'm just going to grab what I've got up here, and then I'll remove a bunch of it. Okay, so I've got my ret val, and I don't even need a result here, but all I'm going to say is if, let's see. If the current date is less than, I think, will birth work? I believe so. Then we will do a message that says birth date field must be less than or equal to current date. And we'll say just like invalid birth date inputted. Forgot a comma there. So let's check that one out. We'll again clear it, boom, boom, boom. I think everything else is okay. File, save all. We've already checked. Whoops, lost something. I didn't put a semicolon in the end of something there. Let's try it one more time. So with nothing, we get a message that it can't be empty. With non-numeric, we get a message that it must contain a date. And if we put in, let's say, 2990. Well, it didn't give us that. All right. I'm going to pause for just a moment, and I will be right back. All right. Sorry about that. So let's see. His birth date. Well, I do want to come in here and do the same thing. If keep going, meaning that it returned true, that it was less than or equal to that date, then I want to return. Otherwise, I'm ready to do my calculation. So that one works. That one works. Let's look at this one. So let's try that again. Nothing in there. Get the message. Empty birth date cannot be empty. Non-numeric. Get the message. Non-date birth date. In here, we're not getting anything, which is interesting. Nothing at all. Oh, did we ever set birth? Result. Oh, it is birth. Well, let's look. Let's look at the current date. Let's dump out the current date and dump out birth. So message box dot show, and I'm going to say here current date equals plus the current date dot toString. It's a little hard to read, so let me put that over multiple lines. Plus birth equals plus birth. to string. We'll just give it a title. I'm just trying to find out why this isn't working right now, but we'll figure it out. So if I come in here and put 11, 11, 22, 22, it's not hitting that code. Oh, that isn't a good sign. That should have been true. In fact, set it to true up there so we don't even have to reset it. Let's try this again. Nothing. Get our message with nothing. Non-numeric. Get our message for non-numeric. Out of range. All right, current date is there. And that looks good. All right, birth date field must be less than or equal to current date. That's good. So it's clearing it, and it's putting the focus there. So it's all working. So we don't need this message box at the beginning. That was just, again, done for some debugging. So all of that now works. So the only thing that is left to do in here right now is to actually figure out what we want to do when we have a valid current age. All right? Okay. Looking at it, I did write myself a couple notes here. Which are not really helping me at all right now. Okay. Let's go back up here. I'll just write it myself. So if I get down to here, valid birth date entered into birth date text box. Calculate the person's age. Okay, shouldn't be really bad. So I'm going to make a date time that I'm going to call birthday, and I'm going to set it equal to datetime dot parse of txt birthday dot text. Then I'm going to make a time span variable. Quite often this is called TS. And that's going to be equal to the current date minus, the current date dot subtract birthday. So I've got all sorts of stuff available in here right now. The total number of days, the total number of hours, etc. I could print out all that stuff, but the only thing we're asked for is the days, or the year, the person's age. So I'm going to make a new variable right here. I'm going to make a double. I'm going to call it days. And I'm going to set it equal to ts dot total days. In fact, let me do this. I should take all my variables and set them all up at the top of the program. So, couple days, I'm going to set it equal to 0.0. And then down here, I'm going to say days. So I now have the total number of days somebody has been around here. These two variables, really, I could have also done them up at the top. So I'm going to copy that. Bear with me if you would for just a minute, please. Now, I'm just going to set a date time for the birthday right there and a time span that's called TS right there. That's all I'm doing on those two lines. Then down here, I'll set birthday and I'll set time span. All right, now I've set my TS variable as well. So what is the age? The age is also going to be a double age, and I'm going to make an int that I'm going to call your age. Okay. So down here, age is going to be equal to the number of days you've been on this earth divided by 365.25. That's being really trying to be precise with the calculation. And the age, oh, that's the age. Your age is going to be equal to that age, but since it's a double, we have to convert it over to an integer. And we'll say txt age.text equals your age dot to string plus years old. A little more than we were asked to put in there, but that's still fine. So let's play computer here. We now have a valid birth date. So birthday, the first thing we're going to do is birthday is going to be equal to whatever we put into here. That's now called birthday. Okay? So that was the first thing we did. Then we're creating this time span variable that we're setting equal to the current date, and we're subtracting from that the birthday. Or is that backwards? No. Current date. Wait a minute. Hold on a sec. Current date. Yeah, minus whatever we entered for your birthday. That's right. The days are going to be that time span variable. And then we're going to divide that by 365.25 to get your age. But that'll be a double. So we're going to convert that to an integer and then put that in here. The easiest thing to show you is whether or not it works. So let's try a couple things in here. I'm not going to try my error cases because I've already shown you those. But let's put in here January 1st, 2000. And that person should be 22 years old if this is correct. And it looks like it is. We'll clear and we'll try it again. Let's try... Okay, let's assume their birthday is tomorrow. So we're going to put in 7/19. Oops. 7/19. And we'll put in the year 2000. They should still be 22 for one more day. Oh, 21. I'm wrong. They'll be 22 tomorrow. So that worked. Let's try... Oh, this is not my birth date, but it's my birth year. So it should say 50. Oops, no, I was not born in 1056. Should say 65. I am still 65 because I was born later than this. Let's just change it to December. See if it knocks it down to 65. And it did. Clear, exit. So one last time, quickly, I mean quickly, taking it from the top here, not a particularly long program. Okay. I don't know if birth date, if I even, let's see. What I'm wondering is if I ended up using that variable. here, so I'm going to try commenting this out. First thing to do is to always double check and see if I get any error messages here. So let's do a file, save all. Let's run it again. With nothing in there, I get my cannot be empty with non-numeric or non-date, must be a date. If I put in something that's out of range, that doesn't work. If I put in January 1st of 1900, that person should be 122 years old, and they are. Clear, exit, yes. So I do not need that variable. So we had two global variables, the current date and this thing that I just called birth. All right. And when you click the calculate button, you call do age calculation. I tried to write this in a modular manner. So this is birthday, time span, age, and your age. And I don't need a space there either. This will be the number of days you've been around. All right. So we first validate that the text box, we're saying, is it empty? If it is empty, meaning it returned true, we just return because we're done. Here we're saying, is the birth date a date? It would have been better off to call it, is it a valid date, which is going to break down below, but I will fix that right away. There. So now we're saying, is the birth date a valid date? If it's not, we return. And what did we put in here? Well, to see if it's empty, we're just saying if that text box is empty, give a message. And we've already set retval to true because it is empty. So we could put right there just return retval, but if we get down to here, it wasn't empty. So retval is false, and we return retval. Here is birth date a valid date. We attempt to parse it right here. If it did not work, we say that it must be a date, and we return false. Otherwise, we return true. Don't know why I have two of those, but I do. All right. And then finally, we say, is birth date less than or equal to the current date? And that is down here. So if the current date is less than that date, then we just give it a message that says birth date must be less than or equal to the current date. And we return true because it is less than. Wait a minute, is birth date less than or equal to the current date? Sounds like this is backwards. Is birth date less than or equal to? This should be false, I believe. And I don't believe I need to do anything here. Let's run it again. Birth date field must be a date. Let's try that again. Birth date field must be less than or equal to the current date. Okay. But it is still going in now because something is backwards. If keep going. So that should be if not keep going. Try that one more time. So if I come in here and put in here March 4th, 1929, I believe that's my mother's birthday, who's still around. So she must, because she's 92. Must be 19, must be 30. There you go. Okay, clear, exit, yes. So if we did put in something valid, the birthday is whatever they put into the text box because it is valid. We're creating a timestamp, and that is going to hold the current date minus whatever we just put in here for the birthday. The days is that timestamp, but it's the total number of days, and it gives us that as a double. So if we divide that by 365.25, that is our age, but it's our age with a decimal in it. We don't want the decimal, so we just basically we come here and do this. All right, what's the word I'm looking for? We're forcing this to become an integer. There's a word for it for whatever reason. It's escaping me right now. And then we're setting this. That's everything. Like I said, 170 lines or so. Not too terribly bad. So File, Save All. I am going to close this and this. And when I come back, because I'm going to do this as two parts, I have now written the birthday part. So this one has been written. Calculate the age for a given birth date. And when I come back, I'm going to write the second one, which is edit a phone number. All right. And I'm going to do very similar things. Now, just so you know, this will be my input. These will be my two outputs. Again, I will have a calculate button, a clear button, and an exit. 3 and 3, and that'll be that. All right, so I'll be back with that in just a couple moments.